There's a saying, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Hello and welcome to Justice. I'm Judge Jeanine Pirro. Thanks for being with us tonight. It starts with the NSA does not collect any type of data at all on millions of Americans. To, well, sometimes we do, but don't worry, we don't read emails or listen to phone calls of Americans. To, we do, but only if there is a reasonable connection to terrorism. We respect the privacy of all Americans. Everything is supervised by the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court. But if accidentally or incidentally collected, the agency follows, quote, minimization procedures that are approved by the United States Attorney General designed to protect the privacy of United States persons. Now, the operative word in that statement, there is not that they don't collect it, but that their minimization or removal procedures are approved by the United States Attorney General. Oh, I feel better. The same Attorney General who also lied in front of Congress about investigating reporters, in over his head, Eric Holder. And this week, the NSA can monitor 75% of all American internet traffic, and it does retain written content of emails between citizens within the U.S. But any mistakes where your privacy are violated are due to training errors. Really? Was Edward Snowden a training error? You know, the guy you call a traitor, who you can't convince Russian President Putin to return to you, who has you over a barrel on the liar thing. But not to worry, all is supervised by FISA. Well, not really. We now know tens of thousands of emails between Americans with no connection to terrorism are being collected. But if there's no connection to terrorism, why isn't the FISA court stopping it? 2 years ago, Mr. President, you said the NSA was working with FISA to enhance protections. Really? In no time, a FISA court judge writes, quote, for the first time, the government has now advised the court of the volume and nature of the information it's been collecting, which is fundamentally different from what the court had been led to believe. Now, when I was a judge, if someone lied to me on something of such a serious nature, their butts would be personally chaperoned to the local lockup courtesy of yours truly. Yet 2 years later, the chief judge now says that the FISA court actually lacks the tools to independently verify when and how often government surveillance breaks the court rules that aim to protect privacy. I guess the beat goes on. But the beat doesn't just go on for the NSA. The red line for chemical weapons has its own beat. A year ago, Mr. President, you said the use or mere movement of chemical weapons by Syria would cross your red line. In April, it's confirmed that the Syrian government had used chemical weapons. You, in full paper tiger mode, said that that was a game changer and signaled that the U.S. would supply the Syrian rebels with weapons, which of course never arrived. But the Muslim Brotherhood, they got their F-16s and armored tanks and $1.3 billion of our dollars. So this week, when dozens of corpses, including babies, bundled in white sheets without visible physical injury are lined up with a gray cloud overhead, all indications of chemical weapon use, you demur. We're checking it out. Now, lest there be any question, technology exists to easily confirm the use of chemical weapons. Mr. President, with all due respect, it seems your red lines are not only not red, they're a faint pink, turning into a green light. Didn't Prime Minister Netanyahu give you a primer when you tried to change the red line for Israel? But to prove the White House is never serious, when asked if you had a red line beyond which you would act against Muslim attacks on Egyptian Christians, your press secretary Josh Earnest joked.
I didn't bring my red pen out with me today.
Now, I hate when the greatest nation on earth works hard to prove its irrelevance on the world stage. What's with the bluster? No one respects us, no one fears us, we look weak, and we've lost our credibility. Why are you beating your chest when it's full of nothing but hot air? Why did you have to say last year and then again in April that the use of chemical weapons was a red line in the first place? Just like you said to Iran with its nuclear enrichment. You are not the president of the world. No one, including Assad now, is afraid of you. And I love that your newly confirmed U.S. ambassador to the UN is on vacation. The woman's been on the job for 3 weeks. She flies from New York to L.A. to give a speech and then has a chutzpah to go on vacation. And I don't want to hear that it was long scheduled. Cancel it and do your job. But then again, that's not the Obama way. The learned Lois Lerner has been on vacation all summer after denying and then lying and then pleading the fifth.
I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
And this week, the State Department clears 4 employees suspended for the lax security leading up to the terrorist attack a year ago in Benghazi. Secretary of State John Kerry's staffers looked at the 4 employees, found no breach of duty, no disciplinary action taken, no firing. How is it that these halfwits, after 29 systemic failures, 2 bombings, and emergency cables from an ambassador, are not held accountable? And when asked why, the State Department issued this statement. These are real people with real lives and real careers and real families, and we can't take action just to make ourselves feel better. Real people with real lives? Are you kidding? You know who were real people who had real lives? Ambassador Chris Stevens, Sean Smith, Ty Woods, and Glenn Doherty. And you, quote, can't take action to make us feel better? How about you make the families of the 4 massacres who paid the ultimate price feel better? How about you make members of the military who fear being left on the battlefield feel better? But the beat goes on. And this week, we find out that Muslim cleric Anwar al-Awlaki was released from custody at JFK Airport in 2002, despite an active warrant for his arrest by the FBI. You know that crack agency, the one that missed the Boston bombers? And thanks to the FBI then, al-Awlaki therefore was able to be in contact with Major Nidal Hassan. You know him, the Fort Hood shooter with jihad on his business card, who President Obama thinks committed workplace violence when he killed 13 and injured 30 while yelling, Allahu Akbar. And here's the president yesterday.
Now, here's the challenge. At the time when higher education has never been more important, at a time when that's never been more important, college has never been more expensive.
Really? You're worried about college? You think college is more important than jobs? What's important is Americans being able to put food on their tables. The reason there are so many defaults in student loans, which, by the way, just adds to that deficit, is because there are no jobs. So, when caught in a bunch of lies about the NSA, when you're viewed as a paper tiger on the world stage, when no one is held accountable for the lax security and the deaths of 4 Americans on your watch, it's time to talk education. The classic Washington two-step.
Ooh, I love to dance a little sidestep. Now they see me, now they don't. Up and down.
And this week, Bradley Manning, sentenced to 35 years for leaking classified documents, wants to be called Chelsea. And he wants a sex change to go along with his new name. But the beat goes on around the nation, not just in Washington. San Diego Mayor Filner, up to victim number 17. Former New York Governor Eliot Spitzer, of client number 9 fame, who dances horizontally with his socks on, running for office. And the Wiener Man, Anthony Weiner, you know, the one who texts pictures of himself at full attention. I don't even want to think about what beat is going on with him.